Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a throwaway account back in 2018. The post is titled, "My boyfriend of 1.5 years just scheduled and paid for a cosmetic medical procedure for my lady regions without my knowledge or consent. My boyfriend and I have been together for 1.5 years. Overall, things are good. Occasionally, he has been overbearing, but he's working on it and has made great strides of improvement. We've lived together for around 6 months. The background: I have a mole on the outside of my vagina. It's about the size of a pencil eraser. It's never been a problem for me and I don't mind it. It's hidden even in the skimpiest of bikini bottoms, doesn't hurt or get in the way of anything, isn't lumpy, doesn't grow any weird hair, etc. It's just a harmless little bump on the side of my vulva that I've had since I was born. Even when I'm entirely naked, it isn't visible unless my legs are spread, so it's the kind of thing only I and my partners have ever seen. I've had an inkling that my boyfriend has never been a fan of this mole, but he won't admit that. Sometimes he'll absent-mindedly rub it between his fingers with his nose crinkled, but when I asked him about it 2 different times, he insisted the not quite disgusted facial expression was unrelated. I assumed that he didn't like it, but knew it was none of his business or concern and probably didn't want to say it because he didn't want to sound rude. He's asked me once if I've ever thought about removing it, to which I replied that it's always been a part of me and I wasn't interested in removal. The problem: my birthday was a few weeks ago. I've been getting Brazilian waxes since I was a teenager. It's just my personal preference. As a birthday present, my boyfriend prepaid for almost 1 year's worth of waxes at the med spa I've always gone to. This seemed like a great gift, useful, thoughtful, and it saves me a ton of money. This med spa does a variety of other services as well as waxing. They do tattoo removal, laser hair removal, makeup tattoos, Botox, etc. I've had a standing appointment there every 3 weeks for years. This morning I went to my regular appointment. My waxer, who I've known for years, gushed about how kind of my boyfriend it was to call in for my services, and we went about the wax as normal. There's an oil she uses that helps to soothe the skin after the wax, and I was waiting for that to soak in when she brought out a wand that I was not familiar with. I asked her what it was for and she said the freezing. I assumed she was prepping for her next client and stayed on the table. Then she began wiping the oil off and applied a cream directly over my mole. At this point I sat up and asked her what she was doing. "Oh, this cream helps to numb the area before I freeze the mole. Then we'll cut it off and you'll just need a stitch or 2 and a bandage and then you'll be ready to go." We fumbled through the awkward conversation that followed, and the bottom line is that my boyfriend had paid for my mole to be removed as well without telling me. The receptionist who books the appointments assumed that I knew, and I sign a yearly waiver for all services from them, so it was basically just slipped in. The receptionist said that my boyfriend asked about the process over the phone, so he was aware that this procedure involved cutting something off my body and would involve anesthetic and stitches. Guys, I'm furious and cannot tell if my reaction is justified or if I'm seeing red for no real reason. This feels like such a breach of my personal boundaries, not to mention disrespectful of my bodily autonomy. I know it's small, but it's plastic surgery. There is no medical backing to having this mole removed. It would be entirely cosmetic. I obviously didn't go forward with the procedure, and now I'm struggling with whether my anger is appropriate to the situation. I have not talked to him about this yet. It happened this morning, and I will be seeing him this evening when I get home from work. Right now, I'm thinking of breaking up with him, but feel like that may be an overreaction and can't tell if my judgment is clouded. What would be an appropriate way to address this situation? Update. First off, I just wanted to thank everyone for their support and validation of what I was feeling. I was second guessing myself and feeling like I was overreacting, but after more reflection, I feel so vindicated in my anger. I got home and he nonchalantly asked me how my appointment went. I managed to stay calm and told him how angry I was that he had tried to arrange for the mole to be removed without my consent or knowledge, especially because I found out that he was informed while booking the appointment that it would involve anesthetic and stitches. He said that he wasn't sorry because he thought he was doing me a favor by forcing me to bite the bullet and get it done. He said the only thing that he was sorry about was signing my name on the waiver because he knows he should not have done that. At my appointment, my waxer had said something along the lines of, "But you signed the waiver," when I was blindsided by her prepping for the mole removal. She was confused that I was not aware of the mole removal plan. I had assumed she was talking about the waiver I had signed just a few weeks ago, that I have to sign every year for my services performed at the med spa. I was in a hurry to get out of there, so I didn't press further, just made it clear that I did not want a mole removal and gathered my clothes and left. As it turns out, she was not talking about the annual general waiver. When my boyfriend booked the appointment, a waiver was emailed over, which he signed as me and sent back to them. We are in a South American country where plastic surgery is extremely common, so things are a lot more lax here than I imagine they are in the US. So not only did he schedule and pay for plastic surgery on my he forged my signature on a legal document giving permission for it to be done. There is no coming back from this, and I told him so. He started crying and saying that he just wanted me to be the most beautiful I could be. Thankfully, I was too angry to cry in front of him, and I just told him to leave. He packed some clothes, and I put the rest of his belongings in a detached garage that he has a key to. I made him leave his house keys and told him that the garage locks would be changed by the end of the week. I own the house and am changing the locks on the doors this evening. I have him blocked on social media and feel very refreshed, like a weight has been lifted. I'm sure I will be hurting later and missing him, but this showed me a side of him that I absolutely cannot live with. I may not be as tan or as smooth or as busty as all the women around here, but I deserve better. I know that much. And now my mole and I are going to settle down with a bottle of wine and download Tinder. User 41 Flavors said he asked if she would get breast implants or a nose job. Mole removal was just testing her boundaries. If she had gone through with it, his look of disgust would have turned toward her breasts, then her nose. User Wildern Eyes said, it's so messed up that the ex-boyfriend apparently has a preference for plastic surgery in his partners, but instead of finding someone who already had those procedures done because they wanted them, he wanted a girlfriend he could force into cosmetic surgery. It's as if he only wanted a woman he could change. That type of behavior makes me sick. User Drew said, so gross. One of my previous long-term partners had two unusual warty exophytic moles that I wasn't a fan of for aesthetic reasons, one in the sideburn area and one in the groin. I asked him if he would consider removing them, and with his permission, I arranged for one of my colleagues to remove the facial one. He was happy with that because it made shaving his face easier. I brought up doing the same for the groin one, and he said, I don't know, I don't think so. Just once, and I never brought it up again in the many years we were together. This next story was made by a user named One Time Advice in the Relationship Advice subreddit. The post is titled, I found a video of my girlfriend and I'm struggling with it. How do I approach this? I've been in a relationship with Kat for a little over 2 years. I am extremely satisfied with the relationship. She is just what I didn't know I needed. There are small arguments here and there, but they are the kind that get sorted out with a talk or two hours after we both cool down a bit. She really liked a photo montage I made of our vacations, so I was thinking of doing one from when she was born until the first photo we will take when she moves in with me in February, when her lease ends. For that, I needed old photos of her, so I asked her, saying it was for a project. She gave me an external hard drive and said the folder marked Memories would be filled with all her photos, but they would be out of order, and that there would be photos with her ex-boyfriend from a summer trip they took overseas that she kept for the memories of the trip itself. Yesterday, I sat down to start checking the photos. There are a lot of them and they are all out of a specific order, so I was just picking at random. As I was scrolling down, I saw a folder in the middle of the images. It had a weird name with brackets and random numbers and letters, but it showed that it had content in it. I opened it to find 2 images and 1 video. The images were a screenshot of some shoes on a shopping app and a selfie with a thumb covering half the lens. Then I got to the video. It was short, 53 seconds long. The first 7 or 8 seconds show someone fumbling with what I expect to be a phone. Then the camera moves down and it is Kat's back, naked. With the movements and sounds, it's obvious that this is her hooking up with someone. To be clear, this is not proof of cheating. She has a back tattoo to which she has been adding over the years. In the video, it is less complete than when I met her and her hair is very short. Checking other photos, I would say she was either 18 or 19 years old at the time. Now, we both know that neither of us was a virgin when we met. Still, it is a little unsettling for me to have that knowledge imprinted on my brain with visual aids. Of course, she is not doing anything wrong, but there are 3 things running wild in my mind. First, she was wearing what I can only describe as crotchless panties with a bunny tail to the side. At one point, I could see what looked like a small whip, similar to what jockeys use. She never showed any inclination for this kind of thing with me, but what really bothers me is that at one point I can see that her right wrist has a handcuff while the other handcuff is open at the side. This bothers me because she absolutely hates being held by her wrists in any way. The first time I did it during she literally tensed and froze on the spot to the point that I stopped what I was doing to check on her. She told me to never do it again. That night, I actually asked her to give me a safe word so that if I ever did something she wasn't comfortable with, she could just say the word and I'd stop. Now my mind is trying to make sense of it, and I'm getting concerned that she doesn't trust me for some reason, at least not to the point she seems to have trusted this guy. Second, the existence of the video itself. She loves taking photos, but nothing overly just some sexy outfits, but even those aren't what I would call too much skin. She is actually pretty flirty and sometimes inappropriate when texting or speaking over the phone, but she told me once to forget any nudes or videos. She won't send them nor let me take them. And now I see a video. Third, and what is bothering me the most, I'm almost 100% sure the guy is a friend of hers, Mark. At the end of the video, when he goes to shut off the recording, he pointed the camera to his wrist. There is a tattoo there that is the same as Mark's. I highly doubt she met two guys with the same tattoo in the same place, and they have been friends since their first year of college, so it matches the time frame. They see each other maybe once a month when their group gathers for dinner or drinks. I've been going crazy trying to replay their interactions, looking for any signs that I may have missed of something other than friendship, but honestly, I am coming up empty. He also has a girlfriend and he looks at her the same way I look at mine. I don't expect Kat to tell me about every hookup and relationship she had in the past, but with someone that she sees with some regularity, I would expect a heads up of some sort, especially because it seems more than just a casual thing looking at the whole setup. This is driving me mad. My actual brain knows she has done nothing wrong and that I'm probably overreacting, but my body's stress response right now is through the roof. I know that I'll need to speak to her tomorrow before I let this build up more. I already had a bad night's sleep. Tonight I don't expect it to be better, and I'm concerned that having this conversation without a clear mind may actually cause issues that I really don't want to have, and honestly, I'm a bit scared to go deeper into this rabbit hole. Jesus, what a rant this has become. Sorry for the wall of text. It seems I had more to vent than I thought. How do I approach this conversation tomorrow? Edit. First of all, thank you to all those who gave their insight on the situation. Now, maybe my English isn't as good as I hoped because I honestly do not understand the number of people who think I want to do BDSM with my girlfriend and that I'm salty about her doing it with someone else. I never did, and it is not something I can see myself enjoying. I would only do it to an extent if I was asked. My issue is, if she is interested in this, why hasn't she approached the subject in our 2-year relationship? And it doesn't help matters that this doesn't seem to be an ex, but one of her friends, which either is in fact an ex that she hid from me when we talked about past relationships at the beginning of our own, or had a friends with benefits situation, or whatever else happened there. It is the lack of context to the video that is causing my mind to spin, and that is why I need to speak with her before the dam bursts, and that is why I reached out for advice to at least not make this worse than it already is. And no, I didn't go through her phone to get pictures. I asked her for pictures, she gave me an external hard drive and told me which folder to get them from. The hard drive had other folders, I didn't open them. The video was inside a strangely named folder inside the memories folder. I'm talking to her tonight after she comes back from work. She already knows something is not right. I couldn't sleep yesterday and she came back to see why I wasn't in bed that late. This morning she checked on me saying, "You are not yourself the last 2 days. Is there something going on?" I just told her that I'm feeling stressed without an apparent reason and not to worry. There's no point in having a conversation before she leaves for work. I can't say that I'll update this today after we talk, as I don't think I'll have the mental capacity for that, but I guess I'll eventually say something. User Professional Try said, "From the way you very well described it in your text, it doesn't seem like she doesn't trust you. It seems more like she has some kind of trigger with the situation. Whether it was Mark or not, she doesn't appear to have good memories of the event. However, you can ask her why, if she had a trigger for the situation, she didn't delete the video. I think this is the point that will give you peace. Maybe he really isn't her friend, since you said you didn't notice anything more than friendship between the two. Regarding not liking nudes, etc., it could be a traumatic experience for her of one of them being leaked in the past. Since she has a video saved, it means that she sent one at some point. But I tell you not to take this to another level since we were all younger once and have made big mistakes, some more than others, but no one is perfect and is born knowing everything about life. User Maraschino said, I could be wrong, but if she used to have her wrists grabbed by someone and now has a visceral reaction, it's possible she was assaulted or abused by him. If I enjoyed something with an ex, I wouldn't enjoy it any less with a new partner unless there was some bad association there. User Raven Austin said, when you're 18, I think you're more adventurous. You're also learning about yourself and what you like. There are a lot of things I did when I was 18 that I don't really do now that I'm older, and also a lot can change in someone's life. Maybe she started off enjoying something like being held down and tied up, but then ended up doing it with a bad partner who traumatized her, and now she doesn't like it anymore. You never know, but I don't think it has anything to do with the trust she has for you, and I highly doubt she even remembers or knew the video was there. Try not to get in your head and self-sabotage. Update. Some people had asked for an update, so I guess this will be it. I can't figure out how to post a link to the original post, but if you need it, just click on my profile. It is the only post as this account is a throwaway created only for this. I'd like to thank all the people who gave actual advice on what I asked in my post instead of judging me for whatever reason they found worthy of judgment. The advice to listen to her instead of turning the conversation into an interrogation, which was pointed out by several people, helped me avoid complicating our talk. I'm not going to pretend that it's all roses and sunshine. There is some trust that needs to be rebuilt, and I still need to process the image of the video. It is still fresh, so my brain keeps pushing it forward, but I feel that I just need some time to let my mind shake it off. The original post was long, and this update might be a bit lengthy as well. She read this before I posted, so all I've written was with her consent. I got a call from an old friend of mine checking up on me because my girlfriend had called him worried about my behavior over the last 2 days. When I said it was something I would need to talk to her about, he said, "That's fine. Just remember that Kat is not Mary. Don't bring that baggage with you. If you have an issue, talk it out, but don't put someone else's blame on your girlfriend." It was like a light switch flipped. I had been so freaked out that I didn't even realize that a lot of what I was feeling was past trauma being brought to the forefront and amplifying my reactions. Basically, I was afraid of going through something similar again. When she got home, she was already wanting to speak with me. I told her that if she wanted to take a shower, I would make some tea and we could talk. I told her that I loved her and that I wasn't accusing her of anything or mad at her. I was going through something and she was the only one I could speak with who could help me move past it. That I needed her to be honest and not try to hide things from me. Once she agreed, I just asked, when you gave me the external hard drive for those photos, were you aware that there is a video on there of you and someone that I think is Mark having sex? That's not possible. I deleted that years ago. That's what she said before breaking down in tears. She hugged me, I hugged back, mostly by instinct. In between the sobbing and crying, she begged me not to get mad and to let her explain. I repeated that I wasn't mad, I would hear what she wanted to say, she just needed to be honest with me. Once she calmed down, as she told me, it happened around 3 weeks after her 19th birthday. She had broken up with her high school boyfriend about 2 months prior. They were both pretty drunk, hanging out in her apartment living room after a night out, and things just escalated into physical intimacy. She said that the next morning, they both felt extremely self-conscious about the whole thing. Mark was really freaked out that she might think he had taken advantage of her because of her recent breakup. She was concerned that Mark had feelings for her because she only saw him as a friend. They ended up agreeing that it was a drunken hookup that neither of them wanted to follow up on. At one point, Mark asked her if she remembered making a video. They checked both their phones and there was a video and photo on her phone that she deleted then. She never saw them again and believed them to be gone. According to her, they even avoided each other for the next couple of months because of the awkwardness, and nothing else happened. I had been watching her while she spoke. She kept eye contact while speaking, seemed tense but nothing unexpected. All in all, I saw no reason not to believe her. The handcuffs and all, a joke birthday gift from her girlfriends. It just happened to be there when they went to the room, and they thought it would be fun to open the set. As for not telling me in the first place, when she started dating her ex, Mark was out of the country, so she never mentioned that happening to her ex. When Mark came back, her ex was already showing signs of being jealous and controlling without much reason, so she decided not to throw gasoline on the fire. Mark started dating a girl and mentioned that they had been together once a long time ago because she asked. His girlfriend told her ex-boyfriend in the middle of a group outing. Her ex exploded, she ended up breaking up with him, and things went a bit out of control to the verge of harassment or stalking. Mark's relationship imploded sometime later because the girl saw Kat breaking up with her ex as proof that she has feelings for you, and became a bit crazy. She never told me because in the beginning she wasn't sure how I would react and was afraid I'd go down her ex's path. By the time she figured I wouldn't go that path, it had been so long that she just let it go. She apologized, admitted that it was a bad call on her part, and said she should have told me and let me decide how comfortable I was with it. When she spoke about her ex being abusive, I gently asked if he was the reason for her issue with being held by the wrists. He wasn't. He was verbally and psychologically abusive, but was never physical. It was someone else after she broke up with her ex, someone who belonged to her friend group. Apparently, he had a secret crush on her, was drunk at a party, and they were alone on a small balcony when she friend-zoned him after he made a proposition. He got close, she placed her hands on his chest to try and stop him, and he held her by the wrist and pinned her against a wall. One of her friends saw it through the window and helped. The guy was cut off by the friend group, and last she knew, he left to work somewhere else. Still, she was aware that if they had been alone, it might have been a lot worse, and when I did it to her, it was just a response to the memory. Also, this actually explains some of her behaviors when we started dating. She looked like she needed time to make sure she was comfortable being alone with me. Now I know why. After this, I was drained. Well, I guess anyone who actually read this far will be as well. I went silent for a good while, just replaying everything. She came to me, held my hands, and apologized again, saying she couldn't make what I saw disappear, but it was really in the past, and she just needed me to tell her what else she could do to make things easier for me. Honestly, at that point, my brain was shot. Then she did something that caught me completely off guard. She called Mark on the phone, placed him on loudspeaker while motioning me to be quiet, and asked him if he could speak or was close to his girlfriend. His reply was, to me, telling. He said, "That's an odd thing to ask. I'm alone. Is something wrong?" She told him that I had seen the video. Basically, the entirety of the conversation confirmed everything she told me. I didn't say anything, so he didn't know I was listening. After freaking out with, "I saw you delete that shit," he referred to it as a one-time meaningless thing and a drunk hookup that keeps coming back to haunt us. He was also worried that I would tell his girlfriend like my crazy ex did. So after all this, she asked me if I needed space, but I told her I wanted her near. If she didn't want to be with me in bed, I could sleep in my study, but she wanted to be close as well. We spent yesterday together and didn't go to the party as planned. We talked and just kept each other close. She and Mark will take a break from their friendship. He told his girlfriend, who took it better than I did, but they decided that some distance is better at this point. My girlfriend also offered to only go out with the group if I was present, regardless of whether Mark was there or not. Other than that, I just asked her to give me some time and not to initiate for now. I want to be completely clear-minded and release the stress that has built up before that. This is it. It's going to take some time, but I feel that I have solid ground under my feet, so I'm optimistic. I think that now, after talking it out, I just need a bit of time to let it settle. User makes infantile jokes said, "Personally, if it were me, I'd still be a little cautious. Someone who hides the fact that they slept with a friend in the past, especially one you've been introduced to for 2 whole years, is a big, glaring red flag." User JMBAC said, "Welp, going through these replies is something else. I remember the original post. OP was on a downward spiral, so I'm actually happy he managed to get his head straight long enough to speak with her to get the full picture. Dude seems to be happy with the answers he got, at least happy enough that he decided to keep working on the relationship. Did the girlfriend mess up when she didn't disclose the past hookup? Yes, I think she did. She should have disclosed that so he could be aware of it. But honestly, in everything the OP wrote, I haven't seen one hint of her trying to gaslight him, dodge or evade the issue, or even try to invalidate his feelings. There was no, "You are overreacting, it's not important, you are being insecure." No, instead there was this. She came to me, held my hands and apologized again, said she couldn't make what I saw disappear, but it was really in the past and she just needed me to tell her what else she could do to make things easier for me. Not to make it go away, not to forget, but to make it easier for OP. Maybe I'm getting hopelessly romantic in my 44th year, but I don't see all these red flags you guys are waving around. I just hope they will both be happy and no one gets hurt in the end. This next story was made in the Off My Chest subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled AITAH for flirting with 19-year-old girls and defending myself when being called a predator. I'm 31 and recently ended a long-term relationship. I was broken. I recently went to this cool restaurant/bar downtown with one of my buddies to have a good time. Anyone of any age can come in. While we were there was a girl celebrating her 19th birthday. The birthday girl was pretty, so I wanted to go chat her up. Her friends were super cute too. My buddy told me to leave them alone and that they looked like babies. He didn't want to go over at first, but since the breakup, every other woman except my ex has been invisible to me, so he agreed to wingman for me. We walked over and wished her a happy birthday. I thought things were going well and the women were laughing. Then all of a sudden, one of the girls snapped at me, telling me to take a freaking hint, R. Kelly. I was taken aback and just said, "Excuse me?" She told me to read the room and that they were uncomfortable. Another girl asked us to go away. I was going to leave, but I was really bothered by the R. Kelly comment. I said it's messed up to call me a predator when we are all adults here. My buddy wanted to leave, but I stood my ground. The birthday girl said that it didn't matter. It's weird for someone my age to hit on them, especially when they made it obvious that they were uncomfortable. Then she made another R. Kelly comment by asking if she looked like Aaliyah to me, which upset me again. I apologized for making them uncomfortable, but that didn't give them the right to call me a predator. One of the women said it was a personal problem. I said that adults are allowed to hit on other adults. It's not a crime. One woman just asked why I was still standing there and yelled at me to go away. I was pissed off, and when I left, their entire table was singing Remix to Ignition and laughing their asses off. I was furious and humiliated. When we sat back down, I was seething. My buddy said that it was my fault for not seeing the signs that they were uncomfortable. To him, it was obvious, so he wanted to leave. He called me delusional. I pointed out that they were laughing, and he said it was just uncomfortable laughter. I told him that I had every right to be mad about being called a predator when they were all 18 to 19. It's a horrible accusation to make. My ex was 6 years older than me. He said that they weren't calling me a predator, they just thought it was weird for me to go for teens. He acknowledged that it was wrong of them to sing after me and that it was bullying, but he insisted I should have left long before that. I felt like he should have stuck up for me. Was I wrong for sticking up for myself or for approaching them in the first place? I was respectful and not creepy at all. One of the young women in the group found the post and posted the following response. I have never had a Reddit account before, but my journalism TA showed it to us, and sometimes I check the front page for news. Earlier, I saw a post that basically described my birthday dinner from about 3 weeks ago. At first, I didn't care, but now I feel the need to clarify a few things, even though I know most people called him an asshole. Some people got upset about the R. Kelly comment and singing Ignition. Was it mean? Yes. But I'm done being nice to creeps. This was not a bar. It was a bar and grill, but it was mainly a restaurant that just happened to serve drinks. We were sitting near a family, so we weren't in a setting where people go to get hit on. We were minding our business and hanging out in the corner booth. He came over and wished me a happy birthday. I said thanks and we all went back to our conversation. I appreciated being told a happy birthday, but he stuck around. We laughed uncomfortably and returned to our conversation, but he kept interrupting us. Each time he said something, we nodded and then turned our backs to him. We said thank you bye a few times, but he was still standing there talking to us. His friend kept finding excuses to leave. I was annoyed, uncomfortable, and disgusted, but I gave him a respectful, okay, have a good night, here's some cake for home, bye. But he grabbed the cake and sat down in our booth. He said, the night's not over yet. Then my friend just snapped, and if she hadn't, I was going to. When she called him R. Kelly, she wasn't accusing him of being a pedophile, she was calling him a creep. 30-year-old guys who hit on us are creepy and disgust us. Point blank, period. We were nice the entire time, and I even gave him a million hints and cake for the road. His friend was even finding reasons for them to leave. Then he had the audacity to stand there and argue with us about it. I told him that he was way too old for us and that it was creepy from the start. When he left, we started singing Ignition among ourselves, not singing it after him. It's a throwback that our parents introduced us to. Instead of crying over our night being ruined by a creep, we turned it into a fun moment with karaoke. When he asked us our ages and gave us his, we became a million times more uncomfortable. The guy was 30 trying to get with 18-year-olds at a birthday dinner. We're used to old men bothering us, and it's always gross. To the if he wasn't ugly crowd, he was a decent looking fit guy. If I'd never met him, I'd set him up with my aunt. but he was in his 30s and that is way too old. This isn't corn, and I haven't met a single girl desperate for 30-year-old divorced men. Being called legal is demeaning. Everything about it was sickening. When he came over, announced his age, then asked us ours, I almost threw up. Get out of here. I'm tired of having to be polite to guys who are creepy and disrespectful. Edit, 30-year-olds aren't gross just for being 30, everyone gets older. 30-year-olds who bother you to flirt during your birthday dinner are gross. Edit, I really appreciate the support, but please don't spend your money on gold for me. That's not why I posted, but I do appreciate it. User new number said, saying bye is not a hint. This isn't a case of OP failing to pick up on subtle social cues. He was explicitly told to go away and just ignored it. Even if the age gap is the main reason why the girls weren't interested, I bet they'd consider an 18-year-old who acted that way creepy too. User just another particle said, OP was a delusional and stubborn creep. He said he let his pride get in the way, but still didn't admit it was weird to hit on a 19-year-old. User Cherryboki said, I'm sure he came to Reddit thinking that people would agree with him not being a creep. I don't know how a grown man can hit on a 19-year-old. It's pretty disgusting if you ask me. At least the friend has a functional brain.